was nice. I think we are on,
Oh
Raj.
my. Okay.
And this is season 19, episode 2 with the new format.
Well, shouldn't it be like starting with like I wonder if we should just do episode 1 of 20 or something. Should we
Well, we can do
well,
21 if you
I
want. Episode 9, season 19 was our shortest season. It was one thing where we introduced season 20.
but we're doing a new thing.
How many of you remember? Raise your hands out there. We are now building the Pastords podcast around songs that you asked for. You didn't ask for this one, but that's okay.
They're not always what people are asking for. It's they can,
Marlena asked for some songs
but it's
today.
built around, yes, we're going to have podcasts that are built around a particular song.
Yeah. And what's our take on that song? And it's still unscripted. We want people to know. Like when we came in this morning, we knew the song,
We know the song.
and I listened to it on the way in. Great song, brother. Good song choice, Raj. Roger chose the song. But then we're going to talk about the song, the lyrics, the
Well, who knows?
we don't know what we're going to talk
whatever.
about.
It's a the song is a diving board, and then we jump off.
I was going to say it's a starting point, but the starting block. Diving board's good though.
No, right? We have and we
That
have
assumes we're going a little deep, which we may not. We may be on the surface the whole time. Roger's going deep. I'm going to be like swimming on the surface. I do my best work in the shallow end of the pool.
Now the way I've been thinking is probably now people will know the song in that the title I think of the podcast each week then is going to be the
That
song,
yeah.
and with the
Roger
artist.
just made that executive decision. I like that.
Well, I just the
It's
idea.
important too.
It's the tag maybe, it's the
Someone just hit that switch. So
I told you that could come into play.
and it did.
Strobe with the music. We got a strobe light
If
going.
it seems a little darker in the room right now, it's because it is. It is darker.
Someone in some corner of this building flipped
Flip
the
the switch.
switch.
Can't you just
I
flip
wonder
it?
what this does.
Turns off the light in Bruce's office, as it turns out. Wow.
I went so through. Bruce said, "Why don't you pick the song this week?" And I'm like, "Oh, there's so many places I'd like to go."
Hey, before you say that,
Yeah.
Broncos lost, Chargers won. I'm picking the Chargers to win the Super Bowl because of what's going on in LA. And when Katrina hit New Orleans went all the way and won the Super Bowl.
Not
I
the
think
Chargers, the Rams.
the Rams, the LA Rams.
LA Rams,
They
yes.
used to be the LA Chargers. It's so confusing.
It
The
is.
LA Rams. But Roger, I think they're going to go all the way because they're playing for their city. There is something about when you're playing for something bigger than the game,
Yep.
bigger than the team, and they killed the Vikings.
Right.
Number 2 seed in the
Right.
NFC. All right, we're done with football. Roger, what is the song?
The song, I went with Promised Land, Toby Mac, Sheryl Crow collaboration.
Oh, kind of like Beulah Land that we grew up with. No, it is not at all. I love the song you chose. Great vibe. I mean, so musically, I love the song. First time I heard it.
Well, and you put me onto it,
I do have to take credit
just
for that.
because you listen to more Christian music than I listen to.
Well, I have 2 genres, Rod. You know it. I either have worship music or I have classic rock.
Classic rock.
I mean, that's really it. Some country sneaks in every now and then. I just don't admit that.
I'm all over the
typically.
place, but yes.
Rogers Blink 29 and Mumford and the Boys and groups that I don't even know. Sketch 22. I don't know. Cake. Cinnamon roll.
But so in this
Jelly
case,
roll.
I remember the first time hearing the song because you said, "Hey, you got it. This song. You need to hear
It's a
it."
collaboration with Toby Mac and Sheryl Crow, and I'm a big Sheryl Crow fan. It's one of the few people that I bought an entire album. Actually, Marlena bought it for my birthday years ago.
Yeah.
But I love her music. I love the sound of her voice. I love her music. I typically love her lyrics. They're just fascinating to me.
Got a crazy number of Grammy award. I mean, she's yes.
So anyway, the other thing I loved about it, you have Toby Mac, a traditionally Christian artist,
Yeah.
That's but edgy. So I mean, not like it's not doing Gaither vocal band stuff. A lot more rap. And then you have Sheryl Crow, this pop artist that's a lot of music has kind of a folksy sound, pop rock, folksy kind of stuff. And then their collaboration, I thought brought the best of both of it. In fact, at one point in the song, her vocals are just through the roof. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
just I'm like, oh, listen to the song just for that moment, which we'll tell you about in a minute. So, since you chose the song, you get first take. You know that's an entire thing on ESPN. First take.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You get first take on Promised Land.
Well, I part of the attraction of there's so many layers to it. I love I love the collaborate. So one piece of it is just
Yeah.
Toby Mac, this okay, public Christian, um, Sheryl, kind of don't know the spiritual journey. It's not like we're looking to peg everyone, but I don't think that she's one who's just embracing, I'm Christian, I'm a
Although
follower of
there's been a ton
Jesus.
of searches on Google, is Sheryl Crow a Christian? I
Yep.
did look that up.
Yep.
Fascinating.
But what this idea of bringing people together around music, and even like where moving toward people
Yeah.
wherever they are theologically, wherever they are spiritually, wherever they are morally, where
Let's do something together.
right. And even I mean, this is the kind of thing actually that Jesus caught a lot of flack for, and quite honestly, some Christian artists catch flack for is, oh, I'm going to collaborate with, I'm going to partner with, I'm going to do something with, and yet Jesus would see it as a way to connect with people. I just be with people. I want to be around people and enjoy them. But actually, that's how the light gets spread. I mean, it's people, followers of Jesus, getting with whomever. And if our journey is actually moving people, all of us helping it, moving people a little bit more towards Jesus, every encounter we have, what better way to do that than to get? Are we just gonna Christian artists or people just hanging out with,
Yeah.
just doing songs together with other Christian bands or artists? Or I just love that approach.
It's one of the things that we did. I think we did right, even in those years ago when we did Renown, which was a young adult venue that met at a local brewing company, and it was like we're going to have spiritual conversations. It was largely for young people, that 20 to 29 age group, but largely people that were not doing church. So you have this whole generation of young people called the nuns. In other words, they don't have
Yep.
any religious affiliation. They're not against.
Not checking any box.
Right.
Yep.
They're the nuns. And so we're like, how do we reach those people that aren't going to come to a Sunday morning service? So we would bring in bands, Christian and non-Christian.
Yep.
It was largely who we could get for $300. So we had a lot of local artists that would come in non-Christian because $300, man, they'll do a gig for us.
Yeah.
It was great. And then
Yeah.
we got some pretty significant Christian artists starting out.
Right, you got
10th
10th
Avenue
Avenue
North,
North.
which was nuts. We got Jackson Waters, which was another group that was coming out of Nashville and up and coming at the time. It was just fascinating. But what it did was, what I loved about it was, it didn't say, and this is something I was thinking about Sunday when I was reading a passage in Colossians, and it says, be wise in the way that you interact with outsiders. That's an interesting word that he uses there.
Right.
Make sure that your conversation is full of grace. And then he says this, seasoned with salt. Like there's just a little salt in there, but full of grace. So our interactions, and you and I are both in the same place on this. The goal is to make every outsider the insider, to make every stranger welcome to the family, to bring those who feel disenfranchised from God and from God's people to a son or daughter of God, the beloved. You know?
Right.
So yeah, I love the idea of mixing. And isn't that even why Jesus said, whether it was Matthew's idea or Jesus's idea, Matthew's the tax collector, he's got all these notorious sinners that are his friends. Jesus agrees to have a party at his house. Big deal. And you talk about getting flack.
Right.
Oh my gosh. The religious folks were up in arms, and I'm pretty sure his disciples were not happy.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Jesus' idea.
Yeah.
Only because
Hey, Matthew, I got a great idea.
what he did with Zacchaeus.
Right.
We
must go to your
the
house.
lead tax collector. Like this is the head of the tax collectors. This is the guy running
the mob.
Jesus, right. In essence, what would have been seen,
Yeah.
they're extorting, they're
It's the mafia. It's the Jewish mafia.
And Jesus said, I've got to go to your house. So I wouldn't be shocked if he said to Matthew, I need to get with you and your people. And can you put together, I have a feeling you could throw together a really good party.
Yeah. Do your best. And I'm sure Matthew said, could you do that wine thing? Because yours is the best. It'll be really good.
But you talk about that resistance, and this is that thing in the Martin Rice family history.
Yeah.
This was a thing. If you go back to our grandfather Rice, who was an evangelist, where he ended up breaking with Billy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
They were good friends. They'd actually done some meetings together.
Billy Graham was on his board of directors?
On his board of directors. They were both on each other's boards, I believe, at a point.
Okay. I didn't realize
at a time.
Okay.
But what drew the line is there's a point where my granddad said you can't do an event with and have people on your platform that aren't Christians, that don't embrace that. You can't have that.
Well, they may have been Christians, but they were moderates or Catholic or Episcopalian.
Right.
Or am I misunderstanding?
Well, denominationally, there were some different places. It was where Granddad felt like they didn't believe in the deity of Jesus. They were Jesus isn't the only way. So
from Granddad's perspective, these were definitely non-Christians on the platform with you.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now if you're collaborating, Billy Graham's thought was always around, I want to take the gospel anywhere. If I get people,
as long as you're not hindering me from preaching the gospel.
Right.
I thought about this yesterday. It reminded me of that importance of what Paul said. Hey, I've become all things to all men so that by all means I might win some. I mean, There was this idea, I'm going to go to the ends of the earth, even if it gets me killed, because there was contracts on Paul's life as well.
Right.
He was the one that was so outspoken about the Gentiles are in, the Gentiles are in, the Gentiles are in. The Jews were like, no, they're not. No, stop it. Okay, we're gonna have to kill you. Same thing had happened to Jesus, but it was this thing of collaboration, and it even reminds me of Peter's aha moment. It's like Jesus was leading his disciples that way the whole time, but they weren't getting it. Jesus goes back to heaven. Peter has a vision of all these unclean animals coming down on a sheet like prepared for a meal, and a voice from heaven says, eat. And he's like, not happening. Not going to eat anything unclean. Still stuck in the Old Testament law, the Jewish law. And God says something. This is like, God speaks this to you. I'm like, you better listen. Don't call anything unclean that I've called clean.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the only response to that is, yes, sir, right away, sir. I'm enjoying the shrimp, even as we speak. Good stuff. Never knew catfish could be so good.
But the beauty of that was
what happened next.
Well, part of the beauty is he still wrestled. Like he was still
Roger.
Like he's sharing this. He's like, you have no idea how hard this is.
Because it's a huge theological shift in the way that God has worked with his people. It's like I tell people all the time, God is unchanging. The way he works with people changes all the time. Yep. He made a distinct shift from this Old Testament law because in Jesus, I think it's in Mark, actually says, in saying so, Jesus declared all foods clean. Because Jesus said it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, it's what comes out of his heart. In saying so, Jesus declared all foods clean. It was a parenthetical statement, or at least we put it in parentheses in our translation.
Right.
But I don't think the disciples got it. Well, they obviously didn't get it. Peter didn't get it. He was like, yeah, I get it as long as we're eating clean things. It's not But immediately after the vision ends, there's a knock on his door. In other words, there was a reason that God, and it was Gentiles saying, come to this Roman's house. at Simon the Tanner, which was not a place to be. Or no, Simon, he was already at the Tanner, wasn't he? Or was he going? Anyway, a tannery would not be a place for a Jew because there's dead animals everywhere. And there's that. But he immediately has this moment. I'm supposed to go and I'm supposed to fellowship with these Romans, the occupiers, the enemy, because God told me don't call anything unclean that I've called clean.
Well, I think this pushback, and if I'm coming around with this, it's the pushback is you're going to get tainted. Like the message is going to be
It's going to rub off on you.
People are going to misunderstand. Like you're creating
Your
acceptance.
It's going to take a hit.
Your reputation, but the gospel message, and this is even part of like it's going to get. But Jesus would move to the people that were pushing back when he's having this party with the wait, you can't get together with those folks. And Jesus is like, well, don't doctors make house calls? In other words, you have to go where people are. And to me, the beauty of a Toby Mac is I want to go where people are. I'm not saying this was this strong evangelistic effort where he's trying to, but he's going to get Sheryl across the line. But this idea of people following the way of Jesus who get together, Jesus at the center of everything. I'm going to bring Jesus. I'm going to bring the light of his way to everything I do.
Well, and the lyric, particularly the lyric that Sheryl sings.
Yes.
Is my favorite lyric.
Well, that's what I want to add. That was
before we get to that, I want to talk about some of the lyrics that I loved in that piece.
Okay, so you're going to tell the lyrics you like, but we're going to build to the one you love.
The one that I love. So just the lyrics of it, because the one that really struck me, because 2024 was a hard year for me on several fronts. We've talked about that on the podcast. But he says at one point, the straight and narrow is getting tight. I don't know how much longer I can stand. Always trying to do what's right. He said, always trying to do what's right. The straight and narrow is getting tight. I don't know how much longer I can stand. And I'm like, man, isn't that the human condition? Isn't that the truth that many of us, maybe all of us, face at some point? I've been doing the right thing. Things aren't going right. There's part of me that don't want to stay in the game. Where's my promised land?
Right. I had this strong feeling as I'm listening to that song. I'm from the first words. Like this could be Psalm 151. It's a song.
Remind me of that. Yeah, remind me of Psalm 151.
There isn't one. This is the next psalm.
You're so good. He's so good. He just added to scripture. I know some of us are going to struggle with that, but stay with us.
It's
Psalm 51.
This reads like so many
Psalms.
I don't know how much longer I can make it.
Where's my promised land?
Why is my heart so troubled? Where's my hope? Where I'm not sure I can take any more.
The wicked are flourishing and I'm hating life.
Everybody, things are just not. And by the way, some will know, like Toby Mac lost his 21-year-old son.
Yep.
I mean, 5 kids and you lose one, and
I don't know how any parent survives that. It's just brutal.
A lot of marriages don't survive even that.
Right.
But so all of these things, and again, this is what you're sometimes running into in the Psalms. Someone's having just crushing grief. Things are not going well.
I'm at the end of my rope.
I'm at the end of the words. Like I'm reading that song as I hear it every time. It is a modern lament.
Yeah.
And it's so honest.
Yeah.
It's what I love about this. I'm not sure I'm going to make it. But this is like, how many of the Psalms is that God invites this kind of song?
And another lyrical, I'm a word guy. You and I are both word guys.
Right.
I love the way people use words that can be used differently. So he says, so I'm wandering. Still I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Where's my promised land?
Yeah.
It lends back to the Old Testament scripture. The children of Israel are wandering in the desert, and they're asking the same question: where's our promised land?
Right.
Hey, Moses,
40
years of wandering.
Right.
Where's our promised land? Well, he uses that word wandering, but it's also wandering. Yes. I just love that. I'm like, that's so good. Because he's tying it to the Old Testament story.
Yeah.
Even when you hear the word promised land, you can't help but think,
right.
the nation of Israel leaving Egypt and being in the desert. And so even the second song starts out here on this desert road.
Yes.
It's burning hot, but I've grown cold.
All these allusions to the Exodus story.
Yes.
Yep.
Still, I'm wondering, where's my promised land?
Yep.
So good, which then leads to my favorite lyric, which Sheryl sings, which I just love. She's like, but I can feel it in my bones. One day I'll stand before the throne with nothing left but hope in these two hands. And then she goes into the point of the song. You are my promised land.
Yeah.
In other words, promised land wasn't a place that they were going to get to. It wasn't a circumstance that they were finally going to reach. It wasn't a peace that they were finally going to have in the midst of all of this loss. The promised land is the person of Jesus Christ. And when Sheryl sang, and by the way, she sings it an octave higher than I can, and it's
Than
gorgeous.
than most
Than
anyone
most
can.
Chris Tomlin can't even get there, okay? No, it's so beautiful. You're my promised land. And I'm like, because, as I'm listening to the song, I didn't know that that's where they're going. And then when they come to that place, I'm like, oh, yeah, our promised land is the person. It's not the place that we finally reach. Even when they were wandering in the desert, the nation of Israel, his presence was with them. That was their
Right.
promised land. The pillar of fire at night, the cloud by day. They always had his presence, even before they got to the place
Yep.
of the promised land. And I'm like, man, that's the thing that Jesus promised. I mean, that's the last statement in the Gospel of Matthew. Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age.
Yeah. It's the
That's
beauty.
the promise.
And this actually creates when you look at visions of the afterlife from various
Yeah.
religions, whatever, this is a marked difference. At two levels. At two levels is a marked difference. No one heaven properly understood is the Father's house. It's about the Father.
Right.
It's
Wherever the Father is, we're going to be.
right. This is so the idea, even, and it's why I don't resonate as much with like the mansion on a hilltop songs or the kinds of
Right.
the idea. Actually, the term large room, the point wasn't about the luxuriousness of the place. It's like how much room there is for so many people. It's about the availability. It's like, oh, I have many, there's plenty of room
Right.
for everyone.
Yeah. In my house, there are many mansions. Right.
But even Jesus' word to the thief on the cross, today you'll be with me.
You're right. Yeah. Today you'll be in paradise is one thing.
Today you'll be with me
Today you'll be with me.
in paradise. So paradise comes with, but
But there's no paradise unless it's with me. The Garden of Eden wouldn't be the Garden of Eden without God.
right.
Oh, what did that also remind me of? Oh, when Jesus told the disciples, I'm leaving you. They're full of grief.
Right.
He said, but I'm going to prepare a place for you. And what was the place about? So that
So
where
you-
I am,
Right.
you will be also.
So right.
You're going to be with me.
We're
We're going to be
the
together.
very words are there with me.
Me. Yes.
This vision of even this vision of good people get to go to a good place.
Right.
Bad people have to go to a bad place is just flawed. The idea it's the wrong focus. People who love God get to enjoy Him forever.
Well, and it's
He,
part.
he's
Yeah.
he's the exceeding great reward. It's not that, oh, you've been good, you trusted me, you passed the theological test, so now you get to live in a place like you're not going to believe.
Roger, it's an extension of Santa Claus theology.
Yes.
The good children that do good things get presents and toys. The bad children who do bad things get coal in their stocking. Because I see you when you're sleeping. I know when you're awake. I know if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. We literally created the Santa God. But I think a lot of people, that is their theology. It's that God's always watching, good or bad. What am I doing? And I got to do good so that I get the good things. And I'm like, well, Jesus took the bad thing so that no one has to take the bad thing. All right. And there was no good thing that I could do that was going to be good enough to avoid the bad thing. So I just have to receive the good thing that Jesus gave me.
And why do we need to be cleaned up? Why do we need to be made righteous? So we can be with the holy righteous one.
If he's preparing a place so that where he is, we can be with him.
Right.
Yeah, that we need to be, we're going to need, there's some cleanup that's going to happen.
The vision of heaven even is a place where we'll see God.
So that's the lyric. That's why the lyric that then it's a different song that we may or may not ever use on this, but you know, one of my favorite songs
I
is
know
Soon
where
and
you're
Very
going.
Soon. It's that song that I want sung at my funeral, and it's this soon I'm going to see the King. I'm going to see Jesus. And then there's the bridge that says, though I have not seen him, my heart knows him well.
Right.
Jesus Christ, I mean, Jesus Christ, the Lord of heaven, I will be
With the one I love.
With unveiled face, I'll see him. There my soul will be satisfied soon and very soon. And I'm like, that's heaven. That's heaven, people. Not
Right.
not a place. In fact, as I read Revelation and as I listen to Jesus talk about the new order, it's going to be heaven and earth. I mean, there's going to be
Yep.
a new heaven and a new earth. It's physical. It's not ethereal.
Yeah.
It's going to be everything that we enjoy now on earth, only better.
Right. It's going to be a stunning place, but
the place wouldn't be the place
nothing
at all
rivals.
without
Right.
Jesus.
Even was it Psalm 6 or 27? One thing I desire, one thing I seek more than anything else. I want to behold the beauty of the Lord. I want to be with him. This is the great reward is with him.
And
Jesus is the promised land.
And it's the other psalm that said, because he was also struggling. He was struggling. It was a lament song, but then he said, but what on earth, what do I have in heaven?
Who I and
Whom
him
I have
beside
beside you?
you. Yeah.
And there's nothing on earth I desire other than you. And I'm like, it's this thing. He recognized it was still the person.
Yes.
It was always the person.
It was always the person.
And was it, I can't remember. It was I thought it was one of our cousins that spoke at their parents' funeral. And it was just a great line, but it wasn't like, I can't wait to get to heaven to see, you know, my mom and dad, or that's not the point.
Right.
I want to see Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great little side thing. I think that's even the hope we have, like with mom and dad passing. It's not like, well, that's the end of that story. I'm just like, yeah, it's just a temporary separation. Mom and dad have moved to Oklahoma, but we're going to see them again. We don't know when.
No, it's why when we start leaning too much on this idea that right, heaven is somehow everything you always wanted, but apart, you were not thinking about the God. I mean, I listened one time. I was sitting at a funeral service, and this person who's speaking about this person who died said, "If any of you ever want to see this person again, you've got to trust Jesus."
Mm.
In other words, the idea was,
as the caveman said in the Geico commercial, that's helpful, Randy.
I'm saying this idea, like you're now leveraging, oh, the hope of heaven is going to be you could see this person again. So you need to turn to Jesus.
Right.
The gospel is how you're going to see this person. The gospel is how we're reconciled with the one who made us, who named us, who decided a Bruce would be born, who inexplicably decided a Roger would be born.
We all question. We question so much.
We still. But the other beautiful part of this, and it's where the song lands, if what they're singing is true, if you're my promised land, I'm already there.
I was going to say the exact same word. I'm already there.
Already there. And to me, this is where that song.
That makes me want to cry. I'm already there.
Because I feel this. Yes, do I still feel the distance and the not seeing with full eyes? But this is what carries me, the joy and contentment and peace that I have. I already have the promise. Because I already have the promised one.
Yeah.
It's going to be at another level. Like our relationship is going to be at another.
It's the whole idea of face to face.
But I already have him.
It's what's cool about the apostles and the early disciples. He's like, you know, you all seen me and you've believed. But blessed are those who haven't seen me and yet who will believe.
Yeah.
But then we're going to see him. He said, I will see you again. It's that face to face. We're going to be face to face again, guys. There's a mourning and grief for a time. I get it, but we're going to be face to face again. And
Yeah.
that's the message I want you to give to everyone else. That they're going to believe in me through your message because you have seen me. And then we're all going to see him.
And this is why Promised Land as a song ends or reads so much like a psalm in the Bible. Because so many of the psalms you end with it's not everything gets better. God fixes, he raises my dead son. He restores all my fortunes. All these things come back. These people that I've lost. There's there's this place where, therefore, I have hope. Or the person I'm looking at all how well all these people don't care about God, how well they're doing, whatever. But then he said, he gets to the end and said, but wait a second, look at what I have right now.
Yeah.
You're my hope, you're my reward. And so the peace at the end of the psalm is not this God who makes everything better. It's not, we don't trust Jesus. Our message to people isn't trust Jesus and you're not going to believe. He fixes everything. Your bills all get paid. A sickness no longer affects you. You get a get out of free jail card for any trouble you. No, it's not. You get him.
Yeah. Your life might actually go to hell in the handbasket. The good news is Jesus is with you in the handbasket. Because I was telling a client,
I love that.
I'm just
Good.
saying, Scripture says,
That's good.
there's no way, no place I can flee from your presence, even if I go into the depths of hell. You almost get, like, if I go down the road of perdition and just get as far away from God as I possibly can, I'm in the depths of hell, the darkest places. He said, God's still with me. He's not going anywhere. And I'm like, I love that. He's behind, he's before me, he's behind me,
Yeah.
he's beside me, he's around me, he's above me, I'm like, you can't escape. And then that heralds to Romans 8. I'm convinced. Paul says, I'm just convinced. It's this super strong Greek word beyond even pistuo faith. It's like level 2 faith. I am convinced nothing can separate me from the love of God in Christ.
Yeah.
Not angels or demons, heaven or hell, sin, sorrow, struggle, none of that. Because he's my promised land. He's my promised land. It's not probable.
Right.
It's not a maybe. It's a promise.
Right. It it's the idea, even the biblical word hope is a done deal. It's not a
Right.
gee, I'm hoping. No,
Right.
it's a certain like I've already
It's my certainty.
it's my certainty, my hope, because I already have and
We use the word hope because it hadn't happened yet.
right.
It's just I
It
haven't
is
seen it
finished.
yet. Right.
I'm on the way. So anyway, love the song. I mean, just
Love the way it resolves. Love the human condition at the beginning.
right. And you mentioned that even the well, again, nothing left but hope in these two hands, which the hands are empty. They're not, there's nothing
Nothing I
I'm
can
bringing.
bring you.
No
Yes.
righteousness. There's no, gee, I've been really good. I'm doing everything right.
I have 12 Grammys. I'm going to give them to you.
Yes.
Nothing
No,
left but an extraordinary career in these two hands.
I don't have to impress you because I can't. Uh, You already know my story. There's nothing but it's when the only thing left in our hands is the promised land hope.
Not because of righteousness that we have done, but because of your great love. I always
Right.
thought famous words by Andy Stanley. Does a great talk. He wrote a whole book on it called "When Is Good Good Enough?" And he's like, if you're standing before God and he says, "Why should I let you into heaven?" He's like, "Don't whip out the Bible." He said, "You're not that good."
No, it's like, yeah, don't bring out a list. Don't. Well, here's what I'm bringing.
Doing.
I'm going to barter here.
Isn't that even sort of the interaction between the rich young ruler and Jesus? Like he's whipping out the Bible. Jesus like, well, what the Bible says is they have it right now. Oh, yeah, been all that stuff, been killing it since I was a child. Boom, 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 all that stuff. He said, great, super. There is one thing you're missing. Wow, only one thing. Awesome. Yeah, sell everything you have, give it to the poor, and then come follow me.
What?
Crickets.
So let me be your promised land. Come, take everything out of your hands.
Take everything out of your hands. That's
and
good.
come follow me. You get
And I'll lead you to the promised land because I'm the promise.
you get me.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This is the truth. And Jesus said this word. So often money and stuff is the thing. Like this is better than Jesus. I really got to have this. This is, isn't part of it. This is my promised land.
Isn't that why Jesus talked about the seed that's sown amongst thorns? You see, he says the deceitfulness of wealth
Yeah.
keeps people from bearing fruit. It's like it's not real. I was even talking about this yesterday with Marlena. This reality that possessing anything is not actually real. The idea that we own something is not actually real. I did a quote in a talk recently by C.S. Lewis where he talked about the screw tape letters.
Yeah.
And he was telling the young demon, okay, you got to make them think that possession is real. He said, by all means, we want them to think that they own stuff. When the reality is they don't actually own anything, not even their own life. But we want them to think they own things because then they want to keep them. They want to hang on to them. And that Satan knows that the things, the stuff, the deceitfulness of wealth, the desire for other things can actually keep us from bearing fruit in the kingdom of heaven.
The deception of wealth is
This is what I need.
right. This is what's going to make you happy, satisfied.
And isn't it interesting the two artists singing Promised Land are multi-Grammy artists and very wealthy.
Yep.
Stinking wealthy.
Yep.
And nothing in my hands but hope.
Nope. This is what
Good.
I
don't think I can top that song next week, Ron. I mean, I was thinking of I'll Fly Away, but it just doesn't seem to carry the same weight now.
Now again, we've talked like the songs can be from whatever. I think Bruce is going to be picking next. However,
China Grove, Doobie Brothers, there's so much in that about Asian folks. It is. It's a very interesting song.
it is.
It's not going to be my song for next week. I'm just letting you know now.
Bruce will pick one, but again, we do welcome suggestions. So leave something in the comments.
And click subscribe and tell your friends. I'm trying to do all the stuff I'm supposed to do.
And
Like it.
That like button. I don't even know. Do we have a like button?
If you're on YouTube, there's a like button, and then there's a subscribe button. Do that at your own peril. Because once a week, well, it's not true. A couple times a month, you're going to get something from us that says, hey, a new one dropped.
Well, is also a button to sponsor? Do we have a sponsor button?
We do not. We should. But Sheryl Crow and Toby Mac, if you're listening, we just did a huge shout out to your song.
Listen, there's going to be a surge in your
downloads.
That
it'll probably go viral. It could possibly exceed Taylor Swift's daily downloads.
We just made you oodles of money. So
if you
give some back to us.
Want to sponsor the Inglorious Pastords.
We're talking to you, Sheryl.
Toby and Sheryl. We love you so much.
His real name is not Toby.
Is it not?
Richard McKeon or something is his name. Yeah, it's
Hold it. There was another celebrity I saw and when I saw the real name, I'm like, yeah, I know why they skipped that name. It's like, yep, we're not using that name. Okay, so next week, new song, new podcast, new rich insights from Roger, and shallow thoughts from Bruce. Tune in then.
All right.
Probably.
Doing it again next week.
I think we are doing it next week.
Song. Don't know yet.
Because I'm in town. Are you in town? Are you visiting your grandkids?